Hello, this is Joe Perry, the Hebrew Hillbilly, coming at you with producer Jeeves over here. It's been a couple of weeks since our last little recording, our last podcast or series or whatever the hell you want to call it. I had a pretty bad summer cold, so I didn't figure it'd be a good idea to be up here hacking and coughing and wheezing while I was trying to record what I was saying. So yeah, we didn't record last week, but feeling better. Everything's good now. One thing I was going to cover, but I'm not going to cover now because I've been seeing something else that I wanted to hit on. I cover, college versus trade school versus life experience kind of stuff all the time when it comes to the union. And I'll hit it again and over and over. I'm going to beat that particular dead horse for years. You're just going to hear that all the time. But one thing I want to say is that I am just over the moon. Now, for no political reasons, for no other reasons than all these Europeans and Asians and all these people coming from other countries for the World Cup that are they're doing all these videos showing how good of a time that they're having, and people are talking, oh, it's that the liberal media has been, they're seeing through the true and blah blah blah. I'm not that worried about that. I am just glad that all you people from all over the world have come over here and have experienced some some good old-fashioned American culture, of which there is much. Some good old-fashioned American hospitality, which there is even more. And I am over the moon that you guys have had a good time. Thank you for coming. Thank you for experiencing this country. Thank you I mean, don't mean to be rude, but I couldn't care less about soccer or the World Cup as far as that goes. I'm just glad that you are enjoying yourselves and you are more, and like I said, now, as long as you're staying, hospitable, which all of them seem to be. I mean, America has no problem with people coming over here to visit, doing things the right way, and enjoying themselves. We just got people with problems with people trying to cut the line. Okay, let me put it this way: any party you come to, okay, you're more than welcome as long as you sign the guest book. We don't want people sneaking in through the bathroom window. Okay, so best way to explain that. I'm glad you're having a good time. Uh, uh, Mazel tov. Yeah. I'm just over the moon that you're enjoying yourselves.
The one thing I'm happy to see about it is all those people from Europe who are always going on about how bad the heat is in Europe, and said then when
Yeah,
yeah, and then when in America is like, you should visit America, see how bad the heat gets here. They're like, oh, it's not the same. It's not the same. You've never experienced heat in Europe. And then they came to America during the World Cup. We're like, yeah, okay, no, you guys are
I'm
right.
melting.
It's
Yeah,
fucking terrible here.
yes, it is.
No wonder you guys have your AC on 24/7.
Yeah. And honestly, I have to say, in that, for a lot of Europeans, if you guys want to come and experience something incredible, Indy car racing series, especially the Indy 500 here in the great town of Indianapolis, down there. Well, it's actually in Speedway down at the Brickyard, but it's Speedway's pretty much surrounded by Indianapolis, so just Indianapolis. But come down and enjoy. You have got there. There is nothing like the Indy 500. Uh, it is an experience in and of itself. I don't care if you've ever been to any auto race, whether it be Le Mans, whether it be any Grand Prix, whether it be any NASCAR. There is nothing that will prepare you for what the Indy 500 is. It is a spectacle in and of itself. I urge you to come back and check it out. Oh, excuse me. So we'll leave that alone. One thing I did want to get into was I got some notes on it too, because I spent so long poor in my life that I had to write down some highlights. Something that's been disturbing me, and it kind of hit me different than it's hitting a lot of people, because I see people commenting on it. These videos that are these youngsters are putting out. about where, they're working 40 hours a week. They're killing themselves. Half of them are talking about living in their cars or living with their parents. They spend 2 hours a day or 3 or 4 hours a day on buses and trains trying to get to work and can't hardly afford to make it. Um, and how that has beaten them down to the point to where they're just so discouraged with the capitalist system. That's only because you haven't lived in any other system. Okay, yeah, yeah. Socialism and communism, it promises you free food, free housing, free clothes, everything provided for you that you will ever need. You don't have to work for that. Uh, but it doesn't say you get to eat the food you want. You don't get to wear the clothes you want, and you don't get to live where you want. Okay, it's not what you think it is. It's not the trade that you think it is. Just ask anybody who's ever lived in Soviet bloc housing from the 1960s and 70s, where you had a 5 bedroom that had yeah, you may have lived in a 5 bedroom apartment, but you had you and 6 other families living in there with you, because the living room is considered a living space in and of itself. And these aren't families. It's not like your cousins and your brothers and sisters living with you. No, these are total strangers that have just been assigned to live in the same house as you. You stand in line for 6 hours to get a bag of half rotted potatoes, and that's what you eat, and maybe a pound of sugar and a pound of flour. The only toilet paper they've got's the old John Wayne paper. In case you're wondering, John Wayne paper is rough, it's tough, and it don't take no shit off of nobody. So yeah, they're providing your basic needs, but they're not providing what you want. And if you have any questions as to how you think, okay, well, this system we're living in has robbed me of any ambition that I have, because I can't seem to get ahead.
Before you move on, I just gotta say the line I see everybody is, but that's not real communism.
Yeah, yeah, that is the lie of all communism. Communism is just a bait and switch, is all it is.
They say that communism has never worked. No, it works exactly how it's intended.
Exactly. Yeah, everybody's or works themselves to an early grave, and everybody dies miserable. That's basically how it works. Yeah, we all work ourselves to death, and we all still die poor. So, yeah,
it sounds wonderful, but that's the point. It's supposed to sound good.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to lure in stupid people who don't think about how the world works.
Yeah, exactly. But I would just want to share, like, I mean, I was poor my entire life. I mean, I'm not poor now. I actually live a pretty good middle class existence, and I had to bust my ass and do everything I could to get myself there. But even when I was working when I was young, these youngsters are, like I said, they're talking about that these are first jobs. My first now I had a couple of small jobs, and I did some illegal things that I probably shouldn't have done. That hold on, let me move that up just a little bit. That it looked like I was being teabagged by an alien there for a second. But no, I mean, I've had some terrible jobs that really didn't go anywhere, and I won't get into those. But my first real job was when I was in the Army. And now this was many years ago, but my first month's pay in the Army was just a hair over $600 for the month. It was 621, 623, something like that. A pittance, just nothing. And even back then, not a lot. And of course you get the whole, well, they provide you a place to live, they provide you with your food, things like that. Yeah, they do. But I was still married, and that's all I was making. And even after I got to my permanent duty station, with the allowances that they give you for your family, at the time there was no housing for, I think the housing wait list at the time was like 2 years to get on post housing. And but the what they gave you for your what was called BAQ and BAS, which is extra food for housing and extra food extra food for housing, extra money for housing, extra money for food. BAQ, basic aid for quarters, BAS, basic aid for sustenance. But what they gave you for that was like 285, 298 extra dollars. So we're talking about six, so about I made about $900 with all of that, and my rent I think was $400 a month. That was before uh electricity, water, anything else. I mean, it was you weren't getting ahead. As a matter of fact, I had different scams in order to keep myself fed because half of the time my family couldn't even live with me because I didn't have the money. But because I was what they call because I was married, I was also ineligible to live in the barracks unless it was under hardship. And to get under hardship back in those days, you had to literally be so in debt that that you couldn't afford to change your mind. I mean, it was crazy. It was a no-win situation. But I found ways. There was actually one of the things that they had where I lived. I'm not going to beat on the city because it's still a pretty ratty place to live. But there were about I lived in this crappy little neighborhood just off Post, just by the East Gate, where literally you go out the gate and there's sewing shops, payday loan places, and uh massage parlors and strip joints. That's all there is down this entire road until maybe there's a gas station every fifth corner or something. I mean, it was, yeah, not a great place to live. Kind of a seedy area. But there was also about a dozen pizza places. And back in these days, there were payphones. There were no cell phones in those days, but there were payphones all over the place. And I had set up a plan. One thing that I had done to help keep myself fed, because you could get away with it as long as you weren't doing it too often, was I would call one of these pizza joints, and I just kept track of the ones I'd called, so I didn't call them more than maybe once a month, and I'd only do this maybe once or twice a week. But it was a way to get food. Was I would call them and I would order like a pineapple and anchovy pie, something nobody's going to eat. Okay, something they're never going to be able to sell. Tell them it was for pickup. Give them a name. Give them the number off of the phone booth, because I'd also rotate phone booths, go to different phone booths to do this, and wait for them to call back to confirm the order. They'd call back and confirm the order. And then I would literally just sit and wait for them to bring a large pizza box out and go throw it in the dumpster. Usually took about an hour or so after the pickup time was supposed to be, so you'd have to wait like an hour and a half or so. And then I'd go out there and dig my horrible fucking pizza out of the dumpster and I'd eat it. And that was, hey, but there was also a place that they sold Hostess cupcakes and bread and shit like that. It was a distribution. It was a bakery, they called it, but it was more of a distributorship. They'd bring in truckloads of this stuff and they load it onto the little box trucks that'd take it around to like the Piggly Wiggly and Winn-Dixie's and all the other shopping centers, grocery stores around there, and HEB, I think, was another big one down there. But they distributed bread to all these. Well, every day when they would come back, or every night when they would come back, they would come back with the day olds and the stales and the stuff that the stores couldn't get rid of. And they would, because they had some kind of a deal, I think was with the local animal shelters or something like that, where they would give them the stuff, the stales and the moldies and the day olds. They threw them into a special dumpster, and we'd hit that dumpster and get stale donuts and stale bread. You just check it, make sure it wasn't green and fuzzy, and it was probably okay, just because the date was bad, or it was out of date. But we ate that way. We found ways to eat. Now I know that sounds horrible because at this time I'm literally serving in the army. Okay, the best times I had, and I volunteered for everything I could get in the army where I was leaving somewhere, simply because at least whenever you deployed somewhere, you got to eat. You could, you had a steady place to stay. Things like that. It was crazy. Really was. But I did what I had to survive. And the most important thing to remember is I was young and things got better as I gained experience, as I moved on and stepped up and moved on, moved up, learned more things, got better at this, got better at that because of the sacrifices I made in the Army. That opened doors to me that probably wouldn't have been open to another kid in my financial and social circumstance. And it provided me with a way to better myself. And that's something you need to remember. You kids, you youngsters get hooked up, and it's discouraging to me because I understand you because I wasn't in a good mood whenever I was digging through a dumpster trying to find stale bread so I could have something to eat for a week. That this I'm not saying this was the best time of my life. These were the glory years. No, it sucked. But take heart. Everything you're doing, everything you're learning, it
Ice cream truck.
oh no kid, I they still got those around here?
Yeah.
Anyhow, cool. Ice cream truck. I might hit that bad boy next time we come by. Uh everything it's not where you're going to be in your life. If you remember two things. Number one, your employer is not your they talk about our culture of family. They're doing that to trap you. Any employer that talks about the culture of family, our corporate culture, when they start talking that shit, they are clench your butt cheeks because they're fixing to fuck you. Okay, that's just the way it is. They are not there. They're not your family. They will if you work a manual blue collar job and you get hurt on the job, if you were a valued employee that your boss really liked, they would there's a 75% chance that they would move your body out of the way before they put somebody else in your position. And if you were really liked, there's a 50% chance that they'd actually call some kind of fucking help for you. Okay. They're not your friends. Your employer is not your friend. You have a transactional relationship with your employer, and that is it. You provide them the service that they require to the best of your ability. Now, this doesn't mean go in and half ass it. Still do your job. Be conscientious about your work. Do a good job. Gain experience from them, gain knowledge from them. But remember, you are there to provide that service to the best of your ability, and they are there to pay you for that service. That's it. That is the extent of your relationship. And if you understand that and understand that the relationship between an employer, no matter what, and an employee, no matter what, even if it is a friendly relationship, is naturally supposed to be at least not necessarily confrontational, not necessarily hostile, but will always be at least contentious. Understand they're not there for your best interest. You're not there for their best interest. You are each there to exchange something for something else. Remember that, and you will actually be able to succeed better because you will take opportunities. You won't think to yourself when someone offers you a better opportunity, oh well, these guys hired me whenever I was this and that, and I don't know, I maybe I shouldn't. No, take the better opportunity. Move up, move up, move up. Learn, gain skills, move up, learn, gain knowledge, move up. That's what's important. That's how you take care of yourself. And quite frankly, you can take care of other employees doing the same thing. Because if a company keeps hiring people and then losing them every 6 months because they don't pay shit, eventually they're going to start paying more. Okay, it's the people who want to stick around to show that company, hey, golly willigers or whatever it is, I'm here with you. We're really a team. No, you're not a team. Okay, they're using you and they're screwing you, and somebody else out there, if they're not going to help you, are going to screw you at least a little bit less to try to get you. It's the truth. Like I say, you want to say something, but like I say, I work for my union. I don't work for any of the companies I work for. Now, the boss I got now is a hell of a guy. He's a great guy. He of course he's a union guy like me, but he takes care of us. He does the right thing, but he expects a certain amount of competence and expects a certain work ethic from me, which he gets. He absolutely gets. And our relationship, like I said, is not. I mean, we're not hating each other. I'm not sitting there waiting on him to screw me. But if he does screw me, I wouldn't have a problem quitting at all, going and finding another spot. But I don't think he'd be the kind of cat that'd do that. That's so you're going to find good bosses, and it's okay to work for a good boss as long as the relationship is mutually beneficial. But when they start being trying to be your buddy and throwing their arm around you, and then start asking you to sacrifice, then we've got issues, because that sacrifice will never be reciprocated. There will never be a time when that company looks at you and says, "Yeah, we know you. We couldn't get you no overtime for these 3 weeks over here, or for this 6 months that we were working. We asked you to work at a reduced rate. We asked you to double your production in fewer hours. So I tell you what, we're going to give you a free 3-week paid vacation." That's never going to happen. No company's ever going to do that. They're never going to reciprocate. So just remember, everything you give to them, you sacrifice to them, it's just, you just throw it away.
No, I've just two things I gotta say on what you were just saying. Yeah, where I work, we've got this thing called the STAR program, quote unquote. I absolutely fucking hate it, because what it effectively is anybody can grab a piece of copy paper with a golden star on it, write your name down, write a date down, and write the reason that you deserve to be rewarded, and then put it on a fucking wall. And at the end of the month, or at the end of the quarter, they'll pick like 3 people out to give gift cards. I hate this fucking program because A, it's rigged. Everybody who knows that it's rigged knows who's going to get the fucking gift card. It's always the person who identifies a problem that actually like saves the company money. You know, working hard doesn't actually, it's not random. They say it's at random. It's not at random. And 2, it's just fucking pretentious.
Yeah, just you need to go into work, get about 6 of these things, bring them home, fill them out where nobody's watching, and then go in, put your name on them, and just write enormous penis on it, and then just tack them up in different places at work.
The reason I don't like it is because, am I in fucking kindergarten?
Yeah. No kidding.
Look, if the program wasn't a load of pretentious crap, then they would just grab like construction paper and print something out on it, and then whoever wrote the star would just put it in a box. But no, they have to give us gold stars because they think we're fucking children.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But outside of that, on the other thing I was trying to say, yeah, things are not as good as they could be right now. You know,
There never are.
You know, the things are never going to be as good as they can.
Yeah.
But like in particular, you know, shit is overpriced. The housing market's crap, and a lot of places are putting out job offerings that they have no intention of giving people. But it's not going to be like this forever. There's going to be ups and downs to the economy. And, you know, people might think, well, the world's going to hell. It's like, the world's always going to hell.
It's not just the economy. I mean, it is the fact that you are just starting. Okay. Yeah. And that's kind of an instant gratification thing that people have, that you need to understand. Things don't come, you're not going to be offered $1 million and a personal masseuse for your first job, boxing shit up at Amazon. Okay.
Yeah.
You're going to start at a job that doesn't pay you enough, that you're barely going to make it. And like I said, but you're going to bank skills. You're going to bank work ethic.
Yeah, that's another topic, is the instant gratification thing. A lot of people are too obsessed with what's happening in the exact moment that they're in. You have just a bit under a century of your life. Things are going to happen slowly. Mm-hmm. You need to work with what you are in. You need to work with where you are, but you need to work toward the future. You need to prepare for, and you need to prepare for the future.
I will say this. It seems, and when you're young in it, when I was young, it seemed that this was taking forever. But then I stopped for 10 seconds. I sneezed. I freshened up my bourbon and scratched my left nut. And I went from 20 to fucking 50.
Yeah.
It's gone. And when you look back, understand, and this is something that is also important, understand that time is the most precious commodity there ever was, because there's no way on, or you have a finite amount. You don't know how much of it you even have. That's the pisser. You have a finite amount of it, but you have no idea how much you have. I guarantee it's less than you want. You can't buy it. You can't bargain for it. You can't beg for it. You get what you get, and that's it. And a lot of people will use that and say, well, yeah, that's why I don't want to waste my life working in a factory, blah, 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 breaking my ass. I'm young. I should be no. You're going in life. You're going to break your ass. That's just the way it is. And you have two choices in that. Number one, you knuckle down and break your ass when you're young. You put both shoulders in. You put both shoulders and your forehead into it, and you push as hard as you can, so that way you can relax when you're older. Because if you piss around and you're just Johnny layabout whenever you're a youngster, then when you hit about 40 or 50, that's when you're going to have to really lace into it and really start trying to work.
Yep.
Okay, and that's the only way you're ever going to succeed. And trust me, I busted my ass when I was young. I could have busted my ass a little harder, but there's no way in hell I could do right now what I was able to do when I was young. I'd be screwed. I would be working minimum wage in some shit job somewhere, because, or if I hadn't really put my nose to the grindstone. And as far as prices go, let me give you an example. When I was making $900 a month, okay, it was like right at $900 a month. I don't remember exactly how much it was, but I believe it was right at $900 a month. I looked into getting a brand. This was when Dodge first came out with that rounded front end, that Kenworth front end. It was early 90s, 92, 91, 92, something like that. Very first year that came out, fell in love with that truck. And back in those days, a truck wasn't what a truck is now. It didn't have, the electro dick massage and the Corinthian leather and the plush carpet and the other computerized everything. A truck had rubber floor mats. It had a regular metal roof. Didn't even have an overhead liner. Most trucks didn't. They had just a regular old bench seat in it. But a brand new Dodge truck, 4-wheel drive, with the what was called the crew cab, which wasn't an actual full 4 doors. What it was there was a little space in the back where you could put toolboxes and stuff in the cab. Yeah, your seats would lean forward. It was just not, but it was, that truck was, I checked on it, was $9,000 back then. Now they're like, I think the starting model is like 50,000. So that'll tell you there has been an increase in cost. Even though there has been an increase in what people make. I mean, I don't know how much people make when lower enlisted ranks or even a sergeant makes anymore. It's been so many years since I've been out of the Army. I have no idea what the difference in what I'd be making now as to what I made back then. But I would imagine it was comparable. I mean, you're probably still not in great shape. But like I said, you gain experience. At the time, the truck that I did have was a 1977 Dodge. I think it was a D100. Called it Old Blue. It was actually Chrysler Blue, that same bright, obnoxious Chrysler Blue. That's why everybody just called my truck Old Blue. And it burned it had a 318 one barrel with a 727. It was an automatic transmission, 727 transmission in it. Drove that thing to death. It burned almost as much oil as it did gas, and for a while the brakes took a shit on me. And I don't know why it was doing it, but I had to, because I could stop it. There was something in the master cylinder that was sticking, because you could stop it, but the brakes wouldn't release. You had to pop the hood and I had a little 3/8 wrench, boxed in wrench that I actually put on the line because this was my way of solving the problem. This piece of shit I was driving. I had it right on the fixture for the hose, the fitting for the hose for the brake line. And what I would do was I'd stop at a light, put it in park, pop the hood, raise the hood, bleed the line off, turn it back, drop the hood, and then get out when the light would turn green. I would put it in drive and take it off. Because if you hit the brakes to stop, it would stop normal, but the brakes wouldn't release. There was something wrong with the master cylinder. But yeah, that's literally how I had to do it. That's how I had to fucking. And it took. I had to drive it like that for like 2 weeks before I was able to get the money to put a new master cylinder on it. But hell, my uncle at one time had a car. The drive went out, and he literally drove it around for 4 months. Ended up getting like 4 different tickets until finally the cops impounded his car. But it lost drive. He had to literally drive in reverse everywhere he went. He would. I mean, he said his joke was he ended up having to get rid of the car because it was making his neck sore driving because he always had to be driving it backwards. But yeah, he drove in reverse. Of course, he only had to drive like 3 or 4 miles to get to work. But yeah, he drove in reverse everywhere he went for like 3 or 4 months until he was able to raise enough money to get another decent car at least that would run. But yeah, that's craziness.
30 minutes now.
Say what, 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, well, this one's going to be a little bit longer. Because I want to get into some presidents here. Because people talk, this is something I have heard over and over, and it bothers me. And I'm starting to hear it from the right. And like I said, I did not leave my principles. The left left me as far as principles go. I believe that abortion, although it is morally bankrupt, it is abhorrent, it doesn't necessarily need to be illegal. I was one of those that foolishly believed on the left because I've been hearing people say, "Well, if the crazy left you, then you're just 2 steps away from crazy." No, I believe in free speech. How crazy is that? I believe that abortion is a terrible thing, but there are times when it is medically necessary. To abolish it completely would probably cause more harm than good. The fact that it has become a an acceptable form of birth control is probably one of the most morally abhorrent things I have ever heard in my life. I believe in free speech. I believe that any time the government involves itself in something, it's just going to make it worse. Okay? These are all strongly held liberal fucking beliefs from the 60s, from the 70s. Okay? These are things that I still believe. Oh, sound kind of right wing now, don't they? Yeah, there's a reason. I believe that human beings have the inherent right to keep and bear arms. But I also believe that the government does have the right to regulate, at least to the extent that violent criminals are prevented from having those arms and are punished thoroughly for when they are caught possessing those arms. I don't believe that the government has any right to take firearms away from anybody that hasn't demonstrated specifically a reason why they shouldn't have that right. Those rights are given by God. They can be slightly or at least regulated by man. But the truth is, I believe in these things, and all these things were left-wing beliefs up until a while ago. Okay, and it's been a while since the left left me. Okay, a liberal I can agree with here and there, and this is something else you're hearing. These progressive wacko socialists are being referred to as liberals. These guys are not liberals. Okay,
yeah,
they're crazy ass, basically trust fund commies.
These are people who
limousine revolutionaries, whatever you want to call them.
People who, as Rev likes to put it, consider anybody who is even slightly to the right of Mao Zedong as far right.
Mm-hmm. That's like they call the the National Socialist Workers' Party of Germany, otherwise known as the Nazis. They called them right wing. They weren't right wing. They were far left wing. They were slightly to the right of Joseph Stalin. Joseph Stalin was the one that started calling them right wingers. But Joseph Stalin calling somebody a right winger would be like me saying that Jeffrey Dahmer had a mild eating disorder. Okay, it's satire and wordplay is all that is. I was going to get into a list of most admired presidents. You think we can make a long one, or do you think we give a shit?
I'd say probably save that one.
Save that one. Okay, we'll save this for later.
There is one thing I will like to say though. I've seen a lot of people try to claim Donald Trump is the worst president we've ever had. I've seen this brought up. No, worst president I can think of Donald Trump doesn't even hold a candle to him. Is probably Andrew Jackson. You know what Andrew Jackson used to do, right?
Oh yeah. Andrew Jackson was not, but I don't really get into the ancient presidents because I don't. That's something that I don't. The ancient president. I mean, we ain't been around that long, but I don't get into presidents. Let me put it this way: I won't get into a president that wasn't president at least in the century that I was alive. You will hear me sometimes talking about Woodrow Wilson, but that's as far back as I'll go. I won't go any further back than old Woody. Simply because at that point life has become too different.
Yeah.
I like to refer to it as the fallacy of modernity. To take George Washington and compare him under modern standards of decorum and behavior, to take Napoleon Bonaparte and try to put these people against modern standards of decorum and behavior is stupid because they lived in a different time.
Yeah, and that's false equivalence.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I will say that there are things that just don't change, and one big thing is that hasn't changed. It's probably not a good idea to shoot your political opponents. And Andrew Jackson did that multiple times.
Well, that was a very, very common thing. He was at the end of that, actually. That was a very common thing. Look at, who was it? It was Burr and...
Yeah.
Who was it? We had one guy who was president. I don't remember who it was. I'd have to look it back up. But he had like 7 different duels.
Yeah, but
against, and these were political and or opponents. I mean, that was a common thing. So even in that, he was at the end of it, but you're still kind of wrong. That was the way people settled shit back then.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing. A lot of those duels that Andrew Jackson went in weren't duels. They were just him standing up and saying, I challenge you to a duel, and then shooting the fucking guy.
Well, that may be how it's put out now, but I wasn't there with him.
That's fair.
Yeah. And like I said, sometimes generally speaking, in the world, there is a bias in history. That old adage that history is written by the winners. The problem in America is that history generally is rewritten by the sore losers.
Yeah.
So you never know. It could,
that's fair.
And now I have my suspicions just by what he did to Davy Crockett as to what caliber of a man he was, but I'm not a man of his years of his time.
It's not it's not fair to judge people from a different time by modern standing, but still there are things that don't change. And I personally, from everything that I have read about it, that's just the dual thing. That's considered the mild shit that he did.
Yeah, but he's done some horrible things. But like I said, if I'm going to compare it, I'm going to tell you that this is a duality that most people may not understand. That is that the most moral, decent, and ethical human being in the entire 20th or 21st century to have ever set foot in that Oval Office was the absolute shittiest, worst fucking president we ever had. And that was Jimmy Carter. And I will tell you this, he was a moral man. He was a good man, but he was an absolutely ineffectual pussy. He was, and this in that I will give you this. And like I said, I do not in any way mean to disparage him. I am just giving you the truth. And this is that when you want a lawyer, you don't want some lawyer that's up there saying, "Oh, gee, Willigers, we lost, but we lost. No, everybody in that courtroom still liked you when they gave you the death penalty." Jeep, whatever, No, I want Saul fucking Goodman. Okay, I want a pit bull as a lawyer. I don't want my lawyer to be a really ethical and sweet and wonderful guy. No, I want somebody who's not going to leave me out to dry. And when it comes to a politician, there's a reason that
Scumbags get
that scumbags get into office. You need the right now. Most of them are scumbags that are just there for themselves, but you need to try to find a scumbag that will try to help you, and that's what you need. You need a shitbag. You don't need some G Willigers fucker who's going to give you a misery index and tell you, "Oh, gee, maybe you shouldn't feel so bad about being unemployed." No, I don't want to hear about your misery index. But he was a good man, and
that's the problem. He
that
was
was
too
the
good
problem.
of a person to be
Yes.
president.
Yes, and we'll get into that more because I got a list of a lot of presidents, most of the ones from the time that I was alive, or that I am alive. But I do have to give the movie, good movie, and it does kind of feed into that, which was a president that was president right before I was alive. And that was the movie PT 109. Great old movie. I just found it again on my streaming things, and it's about John F. Kennedy and his he had a fast boat, excuse me, a torpedo boat, which was PT 109, which he was thinking the Marianas Islands. And anyway, in one of those island chains during the Pacific War, and he got broadsided by a Japanese destroyer and sunk, and had to drag his men into this island, and then they were finally able to escape. He wrote a message on a coconut and was able to give it to a native, which got it to the underground, and they were able to get in there and rescue him. But it's a good movie. It's got everybody in it. Cliff Robertson, Ty Harden, Robert Culp, which was he was the cop in the series, short-lived but really funny series, Greatest American Hero. Jim Gregory, he was I can't remember his name, but he was the old head detective on a series that I also love called Barney Miller. Youngsters probably ain't gonna understand Barney Miller, but yeah, it's a good one. And then the great old Norman Fell, he was in it. Mr. Furley from Three's Company. He was a great comedic actor, and just a hell of a guy. But they're all in PT 109. It's just a great movie. You'll enjoy it, and it's something that kind of fits in with the whole 250th anniversary of the United States and 4th of July. It's a good movie. You ought to check it out. Anyhow, this is Joe Perry, the Hebrew Hillbilly, and producer Jeeves. And like I said, we'll get back to the list of presidents, and not only presidents as to why they were good or bad presidents, but as to why you should never be one of these people who falls into that cult of personality, as far as that goes. It's bad. Okay, a president is a politician. They're slime. They're inherently slime because they're politicians. Good people don't get into politics. But unless they're just at the end of their rope, and the longer they spend in politics, the worse they get it. Eventually they become consumed by the filth that they're trying to stop. So at any rate, we're taking off. Yeah. Shalom.